Hello and welcome to Chapter 5. We're looking at Congress and how Congress works. Okay, so we can number the Congresses on every 2 years. So when you hear, the naming of the Congress, they're going to go by the term, and so that's every 2 years. And then the reason they do that is that um, 2 years is the shortest amount of time where you can see major changes in Congress. Okay, so they meet, and when they work together in one session. Okay, each year is one session. Okay, so a term has two sessions. A session is 1 year, so a term is 2 years. And they can meet, and when they go to adjourn or break up, just takes a majority vote. However, the president can call them back into a special session, and so it's usually professional courtesy because they need to spend time at their home states. So that's one of the difficulties of Congress, is that they're meeting in Washington, D.C., yet they have to be thoroughly connected to their home states. So it's a difficult thing where they have to spend time in both places. Okay, so let's start with the House of Representatives. And if you think about it, you'll often see people, they'll serve as in the local levels, maybe a school board or a state, a state legislature or governor within the state. And then sometimes you'll see them move to national office, such as the House of Representatives. And the first level where you'll see most people, because they're younger, is the House of Representatives. As you can see, it's 435 members. That is set by the Constitution. Okay, so that number can be adjusted, but it's going to take a constitutional amendment to make that happen. Every state gets at least one representative. Okay, so a state like North Dakota has one, whereas California has 53. Okay, so notice when you look at the two, representatives can be younger than senators. Okay, they need to be U.S. citizens for 7 years, and they have to actually live in the state that they come from. Okay, if they're living outside of their state, their home residence somewhere else, they can't run for a different state. Okay, every House member serves a 2-year term, and every House member is up for re-election every 2 years. Okay, so there's once we do, but again, here's the problem. People are moving, population is shifting constantly within the country. So the way in which we figure out how many representatives each state gets is by taking a census. A census is just an overall count in the country of how many people are there, and specifically how many in each state. So once we have the count, then we'll do something called reapportionment. Reapportionment is where we reallocate how we number how many House members each state gets. Okay, and then there needs to be something called reallocation. Okay, and that's also redistricting. So if a state loses districts, it's going to have to redraw its lines to show less districts. Likewise, if it gains districts, it's going to have to redraw those lines. That's redistricting. Okay, so some areas don't have voting members. And you can see them there: D.C., Guam, American Samoa, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. So this would be an advantage to Puerto Rico to becoming a full-fledged state. They would actually get House representatives. Right now they don't. They have non-voting delegates who are in the House of Representatives who can advise, but they have no voting power. In the Senate, notice they're older. Okay, this is a more prestigious position. Instead of a 2-year term, they're serving a full 6 years. Now, every 2 years we have elections, and so what they did in the Constitution is they offset into 3 separate chunks the Senate. So 1/3 of the senators are up for re-election every 2 years. They're all serving 6 years, but those 6 years comes up due at different times. So that's why we have 1/3 of them are up for re-election. Okay. Beating somebody who's in office, that's called an incumbent, is very difficult. As you can see, there's a 90% re-election rate. So the power of that position makes it very difficult for a contender to push them off, because the person in office can utilize the power and the visibility that that position gives them to help them get reelected. Now, in the House of Representatives, when they go to debate issues, there has to be a limitation, and they did this on purpose because there's so many members. We're talking about 435 members. To let them all talk just won't work. So each member gets 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. So the way this would work would be member A, member C, member D. They all together give their 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes. That's 15 minutes, right? To member E, and then member E would then have 20 minutes to talk. So, and this is where the parties can help each other out. Republicans will often give minutes, their minutes, to some of their members. So they'll often pick 3 or 4 people to speak on behalf of the whole party. Now, a lot of the work now in the Senate, it's different. In the Senate, there is the ability to keep on talking, and that is one way to stall Senate. If you can get enough members filibustering, you can really just keep the Senate from doing anything. So it is a stalling tactic that is actually very effective. It is possible to get 60 members to vote. It's called cloture. You would, and that would actually close the debate in the Senate, and they would then move to a vote. But again, getting 60 votes is very difficult sometimes. Most of the work is done in committees as well as subcommittees, and they're the ones that research and make amendments and changes to the bill. If they support it, they'll send it to the higher level committee, and from there, if they approve of it, then they'll send it to the whole floor for everybody to vote. In the House of Representatives, the top member is called the Speaker of the House. The majority party picks them, and the Speaker of the House has a lot of power. They're the ones that choose the committee members and the leaders. Now, they'll have a representative sizing of the 2 major parties. However, they'll maintain a majority from the party of power. In the Senate, the most powerful person is called the Senate Majority Leader. Okay. And they have all of the power that the Speaker has in the House, and that they pick the committee members. In the Senate, when it comes to the actual debate on the floor, the Vice President is actually the President of the Senate, and they can preside and run the debate. They're non-voters. The only time the Vice President gets to vote is if there actually is a tie, because you have 100 total senators. Now, even if Puerto Rico were to become a state, and we had 102 senators, it would still be the possibility of 50-50 vote. That's why we need a tiebreaker, and that would be the Vice President. Very rarely will the Vice President run the debate. Now, each member of Congress, whether they be Senate or House, has people working for them, their staff that does research, and they talk to the people in their state or in their district. There are lobbyists, people who try to convince staff members to vote in a particular way. The best way I've heard explained about a lobbyist is they're cultivating a relationship that they can then utilize when it becomes very important. And so many of the lobbyists are ex-members of the House of Representatives themselves. They have a certain amount of access and name recognition that makes them more likely to get access to a member. And so if you're a company trying to pass a particular bill, you would then hire a lobbyist that can go make your case for you, and hopefully your law would stand a better chance of going through.